The Big 12 Experience Media Day, day number one recap edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8 challenge. Sign up today using that promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $250 bonus in cash. Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Build your betting model using the AI betting engine. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. And welcome, everybody, to the Big 12 College Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Tuesday, July the 9th, Media Day. Number one is in the books. We're here to recap all the headlines in action. I am Moneyline Mac, a.k.a. the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. And we're talking Big 12. So you guys know him. You guys know him because he's always fighting a family civil war, whether it's in Stillwater, Waco, Fort Worth, down over there in Orlando. He's got a little bit of everywhere, even in the Arizonas. He is the Big 12 guru. He is the green mowing, weed growing, Troy Tuning. What's up, brother?
What's up? I had to make sure I had my men's national champs Baylor shirt on instead of the women's. I don't want to be a part of the shove the WNBA down your throat by making it like the first set of scores you can see on ESPN and all that. We don't care. It's football time now, so all of the tricks that you can try to use to make people watch other stuff, they're just drafting NFL fantasy teams, best ball leagues. We got college fantasy teams already getting picked and everything. Yeah, we basically made it. We can fake hype ourselves for another month and get there. So media days are just a bunch of hoopla and kind of bullshit, really. But
it is.
We're here to hype up the Big 12 just like the Big 12 media days are for. And, we can jump right into it. There's no better coach interview in the whole nation than Mike Gundy, right?
There is no better one than Gundy. But I want to start with the commish first because I actually feel like if we got anything from today, it was from the commissioner. Quote, I'm going to throw just some of his quotes out there. We have solidified ourselves as a top 3 conference in America, which we've talked about at length on the show. We are going to be the deepest top to bottom football conference in America. We've talked about that at length, being 10 to 11 teams that could win it this year in and year out. And every single week is going to matter was one of his quotes. And for another bullet point that we've been talking about, we're going to explore TV windows in the future, a.k.a. standalone weeknights, where you can get more eyeballs on your product. Friday night, we've talked about that at length. The old Pac-12 after dark, that could be the Big 12 after dark now. And I think he's hinting at that they may start playing games at maybe 11 a.m. to start off Saturday. Maybe that little breakfast window because you have East Coast, Central, Mountain, Pacific, the only league in America. Troy, thoughts on just some of the bullet points that Commissioner Yormark touched on today?
I know he didn't exactly say it, but you immediately brought it up in our group chat right away. But the 12 o'clock kickoff Central Time, I would assume that would be kind of the sweet spot for them to do that. So it's 11 Eastern. If you go at noon,
10 a.m. Eastern.
Well, if you go at 11, yeah. If you're going at 10 Central, it'll be 11 o'clock Eastern. I don't know. It might be a little bit better to do 10:30 or something like that, but it still feels like it's a pretty good idea to get the jump. Even if it's just like 45 minutes of extra eyes on TV. Game Day's a great program, but we all want to watch football. I do enjoy the hype of getting ready for the week and going through all the games and running through them and everything, but I would not be opposed to getting an extra hour of watching football in the morning, even if it meant, kind of steering away from the last hour of some of the pregame shows.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of the actual fans would watch the games.
Troy, let me ask you this, and I think everybody watching this right now, shout out to David in the chat. Welcome to the Big 12, my friend. He's an Arizona Wildcat fan. I think everybody has somewhat the same routine on Saturday. You wake up, you throw on game day, maybe like big noon kickoff that starts an hour later. But after like 45 minutes to an hour, you just want to see the scenery, see who's on the guest list for today, and just see who's the crew for the upcoming year,
whatever the cool, like the
week.
10 funniest signs of the week. Those are always cool.
But I'm not gonna lie, like game day peters out, I turn it over to our show to watch Colby, watch Colby's pregame show for the gambling side of things leading up to kickoff. I think if you start the game at 11 a.m. Eastern, you're going to get a ton of eyeballs on your first half. And if it's a hell of a game, people are going to stay locked in. We see that with college basketball. The Big East does that with the 6:30 Eastern.
Yeah, the 30-minute early tip-off.
7 o'clock. Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and I wonder if any of us, I mean, we could start that early game. We got to start following it immediately. That seems like one to hit like a first half under on a regular basis. If they're going at 10:30 in the morning and these are college kids on a Saturday morning, that could be the sweet spot for us. You know, Big 12 first half under on the first game of the day every week.
Well, and also like for the tailgating crowd, it just means you start at 7 or you start at 6 versus 7. I mean, tailgate opens at 6 versus 7. People are still going to be at the game at 11 o'clock. I mean, what's the difference between 11 and 12? It's maybe one less beer, and you can make up for it on the tail end when you're watching the other games after the games.
Yeah, I was going to say almost the good fans would almost just pull the all-nighter.
Yeah,
you could
do
just
that
take
too.
a nice Friday afternoon nap and wake up at about 9 or 10 o'clock at night and just start hammering it from then on and just ride it out through the evening.
And another thing that we've talked about, I know this isn't the most popular, a Monday night at like 5 o'clock that kind of leads you into Monday Night Football. That's not a bad idea. Obviously, you would have to construct bye weeks in a certain way, but and I know it's not the most popular thing in the world with fan bases, but
they're getting paid now. They can play 2 days shorter.
Yeah, you got to get your product in the national view. There's no reason to go head-to-head with the SEC 3:30 game, or I guess it's CBS now, with the Big Ten, and then the SEC is on the ABC and the ESPN. But there's no reason when they've stackpiled noon, 3:30, and then 7, you got to dominate Friday nights. You got to dominate that Pac-12 slot that's no longer there. And then you got to dominate the other miscellaneous time slots that we've kind of said to be creative about. It's maybe a little bit before the noon kickoff, or maybe it's that Monday leading into Monday Night Football, or maybe it's another Thursday night game. I think there's only one Thursday night NFL game.
If you can do the Monday night lead into the Monday night game, then you could do the same thing on Thursday. You could definitely have a standalone game early enough on a Thursday to lead into that Thursday Night Football bullshit.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, Thursday night lead in, maybe start at 6 Eastern. I mean, half the people can't even get that fucking NFL game because it's on Prime. It's terrible. And those games are terrible.
If you don't want to rock Prime and watch Taylor Swift, you can watch,
Big 12, 6
Kansas State run the ball 3 times and punt right down your throat, baby.
No doubt.
That's our game.
And Troy, just a couple other quotes I got it pulled up. Yes, who's next? He said, we're next. He said, we've never been more relevant. We've never been in a better position than we are now. And I know it was the football day, but he spoke about we're still the best damn basketball league in the land too. So just talking about how we've strengthened numbers and the Big 12's in as good a position as it's been ever. And that's despite losing their quote unquote 2 biggest powerhouses. So a testament to Bowlesby and Yormark getting us in this position. That's enough commissioner talk, though, I think. Let's talk about the coaches on the other side. But first, we got to talk about Moon Off the Machine and Chris are getting you ready for the NFL season on the Propcast. They get episodes dedicated all season long with the props and awards market. Plus, check out CJ Sullivan, aka Bottom Line Bombs, $10 to make a 10 million on Bottom Line Bombs. Tune in whenever and get your podcast on the SGPN app. And we're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy Pick 8 Challenge, baby. Double flex. Use that promo code right above us, TCESGPN. We're going to be doing a weekly underdog play each and every week on this Big 12 channel where Rush, myself, Troy are all going to give out a lineup there to hopefully hit a stack couple winners on winners. It was good to us last year, but you're going to want to make sure you use that promo code TCESGPN to get the best offers today, and they will double your first deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Circa Survivor, Circa Millions. Even they got the footballproxy.com to save you 50 with the promo code SGP. They're giving away 16 million guaranteed in prizes, and just pick 5 games ATS each week and go after that $16 million prize over at Circa Survivor. And like I said, use that football contest proxy.com with the $50 promo code SGP. All righty, we are back on the Big 12 College Experience. Chat's alive and well. Fired up for the Big 12, baby. Yes, even Jeff Sharp is not the biggest Big 12 guy. Would love to get up and watch a little bit of a 11:30 Eastern kickoff before or he said 11:30 Central, so 10. No, you got it mixed up, Jeff Sharp. 10:30 Central, 11:30 Eastern, because the first games are 11 Central, 12 Eastern. So you want to be on the front end so that you gain the viewership that way. But Troy, we had 7 coaches talk today. We got 7 more tomorrow. Today's coaches, we were led off by Chris Kleiman at Kansas State. Then we had Sonny Dykes at TCU. We had Scott Satterfield and the Cincinnati Bearcats. We had Kenny Dillingham and the Arizona State Sun Devils at their inaugural Big 12 Media Days. We also had Jerry Maguire at Texas Tech with the Red Raiders. And we were rounded out with Iowa State and Matt Campbell. And, of course, probably the 2 best coaches in the league finished it off for us, Kyle Winningham and the Utah Utes, and then Mike Gundy, our guy Mike Gundy, and the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Troy, thoughts, takeaways from today with the coaches?
Well, like I said earlier, if there's one coach that you want to interview in all of college football, Mike Gundy's on that short list. If he's not number 1, he's near the top anyways. So that's always entertaining. I think Chris Kleiman probably had the best interview from what I was reading through in terms of actual information being given to you. Oh yeah, very quiet confidence, just they even asked him about the culture at K-State and whatnot. And his answer was like, we're doing exactly what we do. Like,
yeah,
we're not making any changes to the culture. I showed up here and that was done pretty quickly. We're just rolling. This is K-State football. And very quiet confidence, talking about bringing back, both of his corners in a league that a lot of the quarterbacks have a lot of talent as we're looking into the possibilities of some of these guys that have played and getting a little bit more experience. You're definitely going to need some defensive backs. And he said the importance of that is nice instead of working in new guys or new transfers or some in the starting positions that makes, a much easier task to have guys that, have experience. But Mike Gundy talking about Ollie Gordon was probably our highlight quote of the day.
Yeah. So if anybody was banking on Ollie Gordon missing time, he will not miss any time. Gundy shot down those rumors. And honestly, I respect the hell out of Gundy for sticking to his guns and giving a reason. He said, hey, man, he made a terrible mistake. I mean, nobody's advocating for drunk driving, but how many people have done that in their lives? And they go to work. I mean, they continue with their job. So they're punishing him internally. And he's gonna have to deal with consequences with, I'm sure, their strength program. But He also said,
they
if I
even
want to
said
punish
him.
him, I'll give it to him 50 times.
Yeah, they said having him at media days was a bit of a punishment, like a form of accountability that he would have to answer questions and whatnot.
Face the noise.
But the direct quote that Gundy gave was, "I'm going to do what we think is best for Oklahoma State football, and I think it's best for Ollie to play. And if there's any punishment, it's me making him carry the ball 50 times in the first game."
He's the best.
Hammer the Ollie Gordon overs, baby.
Yeah, and they're gonna fucking need him against South Dakota State too. They're
for sure.
a 7.5. They were a 7.5 point favorite before he got the DUI. I'd like to look at it now, but Gundy loves his team. By the way, you could sense Gundy, Whittingham, Kleiman, and Matt Campbell very confident. We got a bunch of guys coming back. And they think that they can win the league. And I know Dillingham and Satterfield will say that they can win the league and coach speak. And I'm sure Sonny Dykes and McGuire think that they can bounce back off disappointing years last year where they kind of underachieved. Definitely TCU. But those four, with how much they have coming back with success last year, I mean, fuck. Whittingham started making me think, could Utah fuck around, get in the playoff, win a couple games, and maybe get to a national championship like at TCU a couple years ago? If they get that 3 seed that everybody's talked about, I started thinking about that. They bring back all that talent on defense in the trenches. Then you bring back your quarterback who's in his 6th year. He's been to 2 Rose Bowls. I don't know. What's your thoughts on the Utes?
I mean, they seem like a team that in the past they've had pretty good starts, especially last year, beating Florida without Cam Rising and the whole, he might play a little bit this year. We're going to dress him and kind of freak people out, all that. I mean, it goes easy to say that the most important position is quarterback. And if Cam Rising is anywhere near what we've seen him with the rest of the talent that's on that team, it would not be surprising for them to win the league. I know we've talked about it, that they're still really the odds-on favorite. Even in like outside of gambling lines, just when you ask around any of the media guys or even super fans of Big 12 teams and whatnot, it seems to be the expectation is on Utah. But it didn't seem like that in any of the interviews. They're talking about taking it day by day and just doing Utah football stuff. It's very K-State reminiscent of, the quiet confidence in the way that we go about things and how we're going to operate. It doesn't really matter that we're in a new league. It doesn't matter we're going to have new rivalries and whatnot. But, I mean, it does still kind of feel like that BYU-Utah game has a chance to spoil everything.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what was pretty cool. I watched the entire Whittingham Gundy. I watched both of those, and I think everybody knows that. Like I eat up the coaches. I mean, that's a majority of my handicap is culture and coaching.
Oh yeah,
is they asked the question to both Gundy and Whittingham. It was, you're coming into a new league or you're bringing in some new teams. Which team reminds you of yourself and looking forward to getting to know? And like before either of them could have the question finish, they both answered each other. It was Whittingham's like Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy, and Gundy said Kyle Whittingham and Utah. Just the amount of respect for one another, both being at, and we talked about it when we ranked our coaches. It basically was 1A, 1B with Whittingham and Gundy. They've been at the same school for 20 years each. Their win totals are basically similar. They both have had, I think, the same amount of double-digit win season. They both have been right there to be in the top 4, and both, if there was a college football playoff back in the day, heck, maybe they could have won a national championship on the right year. So they both have run unbelievable programs, and then they both open up with each other September 21st or September 28th to start off Big 12 play. So I don't know, Troy, what are your thoughts on that opener in Stillwater? You are an Oklahoma State fan. Is that the first one you got circled? Oklahoma State, Utah to start off Big 12 play?
I mean, it's going to dictate a lot of what happens from that point on. There will be an immediate target, even if if Utah already has a bit of a target on their back, if they're able to beat Oklahoma State in Stillwater, that'll be, you guys are now the main target for every other team in the league, and can you handle it? And because that's such an early game, I'm very curious to see, because right now I think I would side a little bit with Utah, but they both have such experienced old guy teams. I mean, it's hard to be a coach that's not, it's hard to be a coach that doesn't like a team like this when you're like, we got 24-year-olds playing 18-year-old, 19-year-old kids. We should be able to bully these people. And that will be a pretty good dictation of how the rest of the season is going to go between Oklahoma State and Utah. And if it's a close game either way, you almost start thinking about what's a rematch going to do? How's the number 3 seed going to be affected if there is a rematch a few months later? I do think that if Utah is able to get that automatic top 4 seed, it will give them a pretty good chance, because will they play they'll get a bye? Will they still get to play a home game? That'll go straight into the bowls, won't it?
No, it'll go into the bowls, unfortunately, which sucks, because we're talking about, I think, 3 teams that I think are I think the 3 are in a different tier. And it's because of their culture and coaches. And it's the 2 that we're talking about, Winningham,
K-State.
And then K-State with Kleiman. Kleiman's honestly the young version of Winningham and Gundy, in my opinion. Like, you look at K-State. K-State was OK State in Utah 10 years ago in terms of where they're at with Kleiman. I know they had so much success with Bill Snyder, but those are the 3 programs I really looked at today, and I'm just like, they kind of feel like they're in a top tier, just the way they carry themselves. Now, the X factor with K-State is, can Avery Johnson take the step? We know what we're getting with Bowman. I mean, he's not going to be the horse, but Ollie Gordon's going to be the horse. With Utah, we know what we're getting with Cam Rising. We know what we're getting with that culture. K-State's going to be really good defensively. They're going to be really good with their running backs. They're as talented at the skill positions as they have been with Kleiman. Can Avery Johnson be that X factor that takes K-State from the 3rd team and leapfrogs Oklahoma State and Utah, is my question. How about you, Troy?
I saw Kleiman did a pretty good job of talking about how he kind of expects DJ Giddens to start filling into that Ollie Gordon style role, where he's just going to get a majority of the carries. And hopefully by the time they get to the 3rd and 4th quarter, they've kind of worn teams down. And we know Kansas State wants to do that, but it has been a little bit of it's an issue when they don't have that workhorse back. And when they do have a guy that gets stronger as the game goes on, like the rest of the team is doing, it's very Darren Sproles reminiscent, where you'll see him get 3 and 4 yard carries in the beginning of the game, and then before you know it, he's popping out the other side of the pile, because you don't want to tackle this guy 30 times a game. I think that would really help Avery Johnson if DJ Giddens can take a step forward and really kind of do the same thing that Ollie does for Alan Bowman, maybe take a little bit off of his shoulders. Luckily for him, that probably gives him more of a chance to make plays instead of just do the Alan Bowman where it's, take the safe choice as much as possible. But I mean, all of this quarterback talk is going to be determined in the first 2 or 3 weeks of the year. If guys don't come out hot, it's going to be, you're kind of going to get left in the dust in this league.
Well, and the other guy that Kleiman talked about, they're going to run the rock over and over. It's not just going to be DJ Giddens. It's going to be Dylan Edwards from Colorado. So he's got a 2-headed monster, and we saw Dylan Edwards show flashes at Colorado. And then Avery Johnson is basically kind of your 3rd running back. So you got 3 guys. You got a dual threat quarterback. You got 2 talented backs. K-State's going to be a handful, and they're not that experienced on the offensive side compared to how experienced they are on the defensive side of the football, kind of like they were a couple years ago when they were able to get to Dallas and beat TCU, the TCU team that won the national or got to the national championship.
They are significantly more experienced on the defensive side, but just the team makeup of asking the quarterback to maybe take a little bit of a step forward, it just seems like the K-State, this is one of the makeups of a K-State team where 3 weeks into the year we might be expecting like, oh man, we thought we were going to see more out of Kansas State. We really expected them to show up and take care of business kind of easily. As the year goes on, I do feel like Avery Johnson will take some steps forward, and the confidence, Kleiman's going to do a good job of sitting up there and being quietly confident anyways. But the dual threat quarterback and multiple guys out of the backfield, Edwards can also, catch the ball pretty well out of the backfield too. Or if you start with 2 running backs and motion 1 out, if they're going to have linebackers on them all day, just use them as like a slot receiver. You'll eat people up and kind of give an extra safety valve option to Avery Johnson. They just seem like the makeup of a Kansas State team that's ready to do some damage.
I agree with you. I think they may start a little slow because Colin Klein took the offensive coordinator job at Texas A&M. So new offensive coordinator, Avery Johnson, first year starting. It may start slow, but it could be like 2 years ago where they're fucking humming come November and into December, just like K-State seems to do year in and year out. So I want to ask about a couple other teams on the other side. Let's talk about Rhythm. If you're betting on player props, get down over there to Rhythm. Go to sports betting with data, the insights, empowering bettors with smarter data-driven decisions. Rhythm combines predictive analytics with user experience. Predictive models are the way to go. They have projections for WNBA and golf. And when we get to college football, they will have so as well. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. All righty. We are back on the Big 12 college experience. Want to ask about a couple other teams. Iowa State was quietly really good last year. If you remember, we recorded the preseason episode, Troy, and then half their program went down with the gambling scandal. What does Matt Campbell do? He goes 7-6, 7-5 in the regular season. They started 1-2. That jackass fan was heckling them after the Ohio game. And then they went on a roll like Iowa State does. Rocco Beck became the guy. They returned 18 starters. Iowa State's going to be good again, man.
Yeah, not only are they always going to be pretty good for the same reasons that you had brought up with some of these other top tier teams, just the expectations of you show up here in Ames and we expect you to perform. Getting 18 starters back is gigantic.
Yeah.
This might be kind of program. Yeah, I was going to say this might be this is Matt Campbell's end game here, getting guys to stay for multiple years and beating guys out with experience. I don't know if they're going to be able to win the league, but I do think that they're going to be one of the teams that kind of dictates the outcome depending on who they upset or who they're able to hold on late games against if they're playing them at home. Iowa State's gonna mess up some people's years, and I would almost guarantee it's going to be Oklahoma State's.
Yeah, it's Iowa State plays K-State. Obviously in the Farmageddon, they beat them last year, so interested to see the rematch there. They play Oklahoma State. Do they get Utah? Do they get Utah as well?
I'm not sure.
Right now, I know that they have this. They go to West Virginia. I knew that. They get Utah in late November, so they have a really hard fucking schedule. They finish with Utah and Kansas State. Wow, and they have Kansas. So wow, they did not get. Did they get any of the newcomers besides Utah? Yeah, wow, this is a hard schedule, and we're going to be doing our team previews, by the way, on starting next week, where we dive into each scheduling for each team, over-unders, conference futures, and all that good stuff. So, and we'll give out our final predictions at the end, right before week number 1. But we all love Iowa State, love the culture with Matt Campbell. What are your thoughts on Sonny Dykes and TCU, and then Coach McGuire and Texas Tech? I kind of feel like they're a little bit similar, a little bit kind of coming off underachieving, trying to find their identity of their programs.
Yeah, Sonny Dykes seemed pretty quietly confident too, even after, a kind of a tumultuous year. Obviously, their big issue is, are they going to be able to improve on defense and tackle guys that have the football? But I didn't really see too many like headline grabbing quotes from Sonny Dykes, which is kind of his MO. I don't think he's one of those guys that's going to be outspoken the way that Gundy is, but he does seem, again, I don't think they're really a competitor to win the league. But with guys coming back, they'll always be rough, especially as we get later into the year and you're playing, hey, we need to qualify for a bowl, or hey, this team is brand new to the Big 12 and we get them kind of later in the year and they're rolling off some wins. We need to check them. But I don't know if Sonny Dykes is going to be at TCU for that long. He kind of feels like the flash in the pan happened, and since then it's really been, kind of slipping down the rope, grasping with everything you can, and you're just still kind of sliding down.
It's a big year. I mean, you go from 11. You go from not 11, 12 wins with the college football playoff down to 13 wins. They won 13 games. They finished 13-2. And then they come down to 5. I think they're somewhere in the middle, a 7-8 win team. But they need to bounce back after last year's disappointment. McGuire, they started 8-5. Everybody was talking them for the college football playoff last year for God knows whatever reason. Then they dropped back to 7-6. This is a big year. They've invested a lot of money at Texas Tech, resources going over to Adidas. They need to make a jump here, in my opinion, this year.
Yeah, and Texas Tech is one of those teams where I feel like they're doing the Georgia Tech, where they're getting kind of away from their identity as, we're a pass-happy team in the wind in West Texas, and we'll have guys with stronger arms than you that can kind of push the ball through the wind, and we'll be able to win some of these home games. I don't know if they've kind of leaned away from that. Whereas I think now in the Big 12, it would be, I was going to say now it feels like sticking back with that pass happy thing would be more unique for spread offense Texas guys that you're trying to recruit. And it does make me think, like Texas Tech's never going to be a team that's 11 wins every year. So why would you kind of go away from the thing that brought you closer to prominence than you've ever been? That's the only question that I have.
You make a good point, because you look at the top 3 teams. We talked about how they're kind of similar. It's because they're tough. They're going to run the ball.
They've zagged to the whole spread offense.
Like K-State used to do with everybody. Everybody was throwing it all over the yard. K-State's like, all right, we'll run it out of the fucking pistol and grind out 40 minutes of possession, and we'll go 9-3 and be right there every single year. It's maybe a good point there, Troy, with Texas Tech kind of trying to be more of a powerful and bang with some of these bigger teams. Maybe they need to go to more the air raid like an Arizona is going to be coming into the league, or Kansas with Lance Leipold, being able to spread you out and be dynamic offensively. Did you take anything away from Arizona State and Cincinnati? I got bad vibes on them. Arizona State, I think Dillingham's the right guy. I actually think he's going to get that thing going.
I'm going to say, other than the city of Cincinnati being spelled wrong on the jersey.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Did you see that?
What's that about? What's that about?
Who knows? Again, I don't know how much of a player Dillingham might be a team that has a big upset on like a mid-range.
They got better last year, late in the year. He had no talent compared to the other teams in that league. He's recruiting at a high level. I actually think Arizona State could be a player in years to come. So that's my 2 cents.
Whereas I don't know about Cincinnati. They just seem to be kind of stagnant.
I don't think that there's any chance they have the right guy. They were talking about they got to break it down and build it up. I was like, dude, you took over Cincinnati. They were in the playoff like 2 years ago. I don't understand what you're talking about. they did not do a good job in the portal last year. Is what I took away from Satterfield, but. Dave doesn't like that. You better watch out. Arizona State might be overtaking Arizona. What's Noah Fafita's not a freaking Wildcat anymore. Tyler Springs in the chat asks Colorado. Trust me, if Colorado was there today, you would have known. Tomorrow, and I said 7. Sorry, we have 16 teams, so there were 8. So on deck tomorrow, we got the newcomer Arizona Wildcats with Noah Fafita and those guys. We got Dave Aranda and the Baylor Bears. Kalani Sitake and the BYU Cougars. We got Willie Fritz and the Houston Cougars, another Cougar there. Lance Leipold and Jalen Daniels and the Kansas Jayhawks. Looking forward to seeing them. Gus Malzahn, there's a quiet confidence with these UCF Shiny Knights. Looking forward to seeing Malzahn there tomorrow. Neil Brown, baby, and the West Virginia Mountaineers. There's a silent confidence with them as well, with a lot coming back on the O-line and Garrett Green. And, of course, where all the cameras will be tomorrow, Coach Prime makes his debut at the Big 12 Media Days with his son, Hunter, and we're in Vegas. Yeah, for some reason I blanked out where they were. Yeah, they're in Vegas. They're at Allegiant Stadium where the Raiders play. Troy, any last thoughts before we get up on out of here, man?
Well, obviously excited to hear what Deion does and how the media reacts to it. I was going to say, it's not like it's one of those funny things where I'm not really super interested in what Deion has to say, but I am interested to see how the media reacts to what Deion says. I do want to see what Aranda, some of the questions he has to answer. We'll see how he handles it, because he's got to know he's on the hot seat at this point. There's no real way to hide that, right? Like you slide this hard for a couple of years in a row after a Big 12 championship, maybe like the best performance you've seen from your football program ever, and then just fall into this. It'll be very
Neil Brown.
Yeah, can he pull the Neil Brown? Can he slowly bring him back? I wonder if Neil Brown he should act the same way as the other 3 coaches, where he's like, yeah, this is our culture. We're going to win 8 to 10 games every year, and we're just going to shove it in people's face.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant that the league put Yormark and Deion on different days, and Gundy and Deion. You want to spread out the attention. Tomorrow will be about Deion. And I'm trying to think who else it would be about. Arizona with Fafita and Kansas with Daniels, and West Virginia with Garrett Green. I mean, you got 3 really good quarterbacks and coaches tomorrow there.
And I want to see if KJ comes with UCF.
Yes, and Malzahn. Yeah.
But Gus Malzahn seems to be the guy that's going to have the headline grabbing quotes out of the group tomorrow. Gus Malzahn's
besides Deion.
Well, Deion's going to grab headlines by saying, "What's up?"
Yeah.
They're going to tweet that out. ESPN's going to tweet that out like 30 seconds. Walks up onto the podium.
They should have put Gundy actually tomorrow. They should have had Gundy with fucking Deion. That would have been class. Well, actually, they had to separate the two because they put Gundy last for a reason. I bet you. I got to look at the schedule to see what Deion's. I would imagine Deion's at the end. They probably want Deion to headline.
I would think so.
Yeah, I will say, man, and I was listening to another show. Maybe it was Colby. I don't know if it was Colby or somebody else. Having Deion in the league is good for the Big 12. Just for like the other teams and brands, it's gonna a guy like Noah Fafita, a guy like Jalen Daniels, Garrett Green, KJ Jefferson. I'm trying to think who else we got here. Let me look at those logos. Who else am I missing? Avery Johnson at K-State. Ollie Gordon, I guess Ollie Gordon's well known now that he got the DUI, but like guys that don't get as much national pub and PR, I think when they kick Colorado's ass, it'll give them a chance to get in the spotlight, kind of like some of the really good Pac-12 teams and coaches and players did last year.
Yeah, and I am pretty interested to see how Arizona goes about things. I'm kind of expecting them to operate as Utah does. Obviously not the same style of play, but I would like to see them, pretty confident, kicked Oklahoma's ass in the bowl game. And that was a team that, they were one game back from being in Dallas at the Big 12 championship game.
I know.
So, Arizona's got to have pretty high expectations here too. It would be nice to see how they, begin to handle that. Obviously, it's not the most important thing here this far out at media days, but if you watch it and you pay attention, you can really see there's a lot of human tells and things that you can notice and pick up, especially on some of the players because they're younger and they don't know how to mask it as well. You can really tell how confident some of the guys are. Like I would say, Ollie Gordon has it pretty easy answering DUI questions when he knows, like I mentioned in the chat earlier, he's got a cycle of 7 redshirt seniors that are going to be blocking for him and a 26-year-old quarterback. Like it's pretty easy to answer questions and be like, you remember when Michael Irvin got caught with cocaine and was like, what's going to happen is Michael's going to go out and catch 2 touchdowns this weekend. It makes it easier when you're going to show up.
Yep. It does, man. And we'll be back tomorrow, same time, 5:00 Eastern to recap day 2. The Dion show is what it's going to be.
The Dion show.
And we'll get some headlines, I'm sure, for some of these other teams. But yeah, man, good first day in the books over at Big 12 Media Day in Las Vegas. Any last thoughts before we depart and move on to day number 2?
Yeah, I guess if you're, trying to actually pay attention to the rest of the league, make sure you watch all the highlight videos and interviews and whatnot tonight because they will be hard to find when there's 75 Dion clips posted.
True. Yeah, they need to put Dion last just so you can watch the other guys. But yeah, like I said, I'll be on the college basketball experience here in about an hour with the Ryan Peden interview from the Illinois State Redbirds and
Coaches Tour.
Yeah, the Coaches Tour. And we got another Coaches Tour interview airing tomorrow. The head coach of the North Florida Ospreys, Matthew Driscoll. So got that lined up. And then Noah and I are talking realignment on Thursday on the college basketball. Colby's doing 134 college football team previews. And of course, like, subscribe. We all come together on one is youtube.com/the college experience. The Big 12 experience is part of that umbrella. So help us out. Leave a review, leave a like, subscribe, tell all your friends, tell somebody. And yeah, we'll be here every step of the way for Big 12 football and basketball. Best league in the land, America's League. He is at Troy Tuning. I am at Moneyline_Mac. We are the Big 12 College Experience. And we are out of here till tomorrow.